Hey guys, it's JP, and today I am going to talk about what you should try instead of focusing on kicking your own butt as the leg swings forward as you run. As I mentioned in a previous video, one problem people get into is when they actively focus on getting the heel to the bottom or having a high knee. This pattern is sought after as having a high knee may reduce moment of inertia of the leg and help it move forward more efficiently. However, trying to simply focus on copying that pattern may do the opposite effect and decrease efficiency. Instead, you can work on getting the knee to swing forward faster. This can most easily be done by simply running at a higher speed. However, you can also incorporate exercises or drills to improve this. By working on your hip flexor muscles, this may help improve the speed the leg swings forward. This may also cause the heel to come closer to the bottom naturally, which may improve efficiency too. Now, let's go over some exercises you can try to work on the hip flexors to improve the way you run. The first exercise I will go over is the knee raises. This position can actually be a way to stretch your hip flexors. However, by incorporating resistance as seen here, like a kettlebell or an ankle weight, it becomes a good exercise that works on your hip flexors in an extended position. This detail may be beneficial as this is where peak force of the hip flexors is seen as you run. Now to do this one, you can go on a bench or a side of an elevated surface. I have this person holding their leg here as this takes away demands from the core to isolate more of the hip flexors, as well as forcing the pelvis to stay in this position. This will help prevent the pelvis from moving too much so you can really focus on the hip movement. If this is not accounted for, the pelvis may slip into an anterior pelvic tilt as you move, which may decrease the amount of range the hip is actually working through. Now here, you can see we already placed some resistance. As I mentioned before, an ankle or cuff weight may work here too. You can also start this without weight initially. All you really need to do here is lift the knee up and down. Keep control as you do this. Also, make sure that you are going through the full range, especially that extended hip position. Next, let's go over the banded reverse lunge. While this also works the hip flexors, it also engages the muscles on the opposite leg in a manner similar to running. This is important as the opposite hip needs to be able to stabilize and control the pelvic movement. Now, here I position a band around the foot like so. You can try using an ankle or cuff weight too. Now let's go over a few things to look out for when doing this variation of the reverse lunge. When preparing to do this movement, I typically cue the person to tighten the core. If this is not done, you may end up finding stability by flaring out your ribs and arching the back. Another thing I cue for is to drive the front foot through the ground. This may help stabilize the muscles around this leg to allow you to follow through with the movement. If this does not occur, you may not be able to get the back leg forward. Now, a slightly more advanced cue I incorporate when doing this is to try to screw your front foot clockwise. This will also help engage the muscles around the hip to help you stabilize. One more tip I will mention is that if you want to make this harder, instead of increasing the band resistance, you can also turn this into a step-up lunge by putting the front leg on an elevated surface. The last exercise I will go over is the mountain sliders. This is a variation of the mountain climber that involves engagement of the hip flexors, trunk, and core musculature, which is also seen as you run. Incorporating this variation also allows you to work on the actual speed of getting the knee forward, which was the point of these exercises. To do this one, all you really need is a pair of furniture sliders if you're on a carpet. You can also do this on a hardwood floor with a small cloth like face towels or pieces of paper from a magazine. Then, you get into a push-up plank position. Try to keep your hands stacked under your shoulders. Also, another good cue to follow is to pretend like you're bouncing plates on your lower back. This will help engage and stabilize at the core. Then, instead of lifting your feet like you do with the mountain climbers, you just slide the feet forward instead. Then, you can alternate on each side for a given duration. And those are a few exercises you can try. I hope you guys found this video useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well as any ideas you may have for future videos. And as always, thank you for watching.